We build it, you demolish it. The legendary Homewrecker Burrito. Come build yours today with 20+ fresh ingredients.
First online order, 10% off. Promo code ONLINE.
Hi, and welcome back to a new season of Over the Boards. I'm your host, Delaney Kearns, joined with, yet again, Coach Tim Healy. Coach, how are you?
Delaney, I'm doing really well. It's great to be back for another season. I think, what is this, number 3 with?
Yeah, we've been doing this for a while.
It's fantastic. So, and we're already well underway. So it's great to be here. Lots to recap already.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about because I think we last talked in like March, and the season's already been underway. So there's a lot of things to discuss. I would like to mention that Over the Boards is sponsored by Moe's. You can order online at moescatersraleigh.com or call 919-999-3999. And don't forget that if Ice Pack win a home game, you can go get free queso at the Village District Moe's.
I mean, you can try if the Canes win a game.
I
don't know
if
you
try that too. I don't know if they're going to do
They might
anything.
buy into it. It's,
Yeah, but all right, so let's just dive right in. I want to talk team a little bit, stats, kind of just what's been happening so far. There's a lot of new faces, and I feel like I say that every year. But what are we seeing so far?
Well, I think that has been a storyline so far, are the new faces. Yeah. I think, we have 12 new players, so 11 skaters and a new goalie. And we really, this past weekend, they were put to the test. We had, look, student athletes or students first, and we had some students due to some engineering labs and the like couldn't make the trip. So we had all 11 new skaters in the lineup this past weekend against the defending league champs on the road. Longest road trip of the year, and
it's done with.
and we 2 convincing wins, 7-3 and 6-3. So I think that is a storyline of the new season. But I would also say some of the storyline that we can get into is a great leadership from our returning group that we have too. They've been tremendous as well.
Yeah. And speaking of returners, our captain this year is Zach Herman. He was awarded captain by Garrett Arini. How did that decision come about? What was that like?
That decision in some ways was made by Zach. And what I mean by that was his commitment to the team and to lead over the summer, getting guys into the weight room, getting guys out to the summer skates, his voice in the locker room. I don't think there's a player in my time who has grown as much as an individual in 3 years than Zach Herman. Just to see his maturity coming into the year, his desire to win, his compete to win. What that video didn't show was even, so there's a process that we have. And part of it is the captains or who wants a letter, they answer some questions. And, when I read his, it made me want to go through a wall, right? and so even reading that out to the team, and it was great to have Garrett come and present it to him, because we've really had, I think one of the great things about Zach is he's been in the locker room now for Garrett Arini and Victor Hugo, who are 2 great role models. But trust me, Zach is still his own person. Like, there's no doubt about that. But when we took the input of the team, overwhelmingly, like, that's our guy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I think he's shown that so far too, and we'll get into that a little bit more. And I almost don't want to say it out loud, but they're kind of on a winning streak. I don't know if that's bad to say.
I mean, look, I'm a goalie. In a game, you don't say, the shutout word, but, I think in this context, right, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
We're off to a good start. You're only as good as your next game, though. But it's nice we've had some slow starts the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And this is our first 4-0 start since 2018, 2019, which was the year we went undefeated through regionals and internationals. And by the way, Friday night, we're honoring that team as part of homecoming weekend.
Oh, that's awesome.
So with the way our playoff system even works, a win in September counts the same as a win in February, right? So getting off to that, we've kind of been starting, mid-pack at the back of the pack and crawling our way up. Right now, we're starting really where we want to be, and we have a chance to go through, September, 1 game left to try and have a clean sheet in September, which would be huge. We haven't done that in quite some time, and that'll build a lot of momentum going forward.
I was going to ask, so the first home game was against High Point. How did that kind of set the precedent for the season?
I think it did a couple of things. One, in some ways it went how I thought the game would go.
Okay.
Is that High Point is really a young up-and-coming program, and they're really solid to their first two lines. They had they had their best scorer out, but they're largely a returning team. And you saw at the beginning of that game when their zone entries, their play, they were a little bit more together as a team than we were, where we had really no lines that were the same as last year.
Yeah.
And so you saw some sloppiness in the first period, a lot of turnovers. But once that got cleaned up in the second, I think we dropped from 14 turnovers to 6 from the first to the second period. You saw that come about. And the other thing is you saw our depth really take over. The guys worked incredibly hard this summer at being in shape. When we did our fitness testing, the scores were higher across the board than last year, and we even upped kind of the requirements of it. Our summer skates were way more intense this summer. Our tryouts, where we got rid of the traditional captain's practices and more went to a camp model.
Okay, I was going to ask how that went this summer.
So there's a lot more intensity through that process, and so I think you saw us ready to play 3 periods, where the first was a feeling out, but the second and third, you really saw that conditioning come into play in the work that the guys did this summer.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And then you did talk about that away stretch, and I kind of wanted to hear a little bit about that because they were on the road for 3 games or so. How was that? It was started off with Virginia Tech.
It's really funny because we have such an imbalanced schedule, home to road.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Very inconsistent.
Listen, Ice Pack fans, Wolfpack Nation, there is no excuse not to see us play. I know for the next month, we have games on Friday, we have games on Saturday, we even have a Sunday afternoon game. So there is no excuse not to get out to see us a game, and we're excited to have you out. But yeah, it is weird. We have this super long stretch.
Yeah.
We actually only have, I think truly nine true road games this year, and then some neutral site games. And to have 3 of them in a row, and including our longest road trip. So, there's something, I actually like to have a road trip early in the season, like the Rowan one. The guys are in the bus, it's good bonding time, in the hotel. It really becomes a time for the guys to get together, try and do something fun. For example, up at Rowan, we had a bowling alley, bowling outing. Zach Robinson, and he's definitely our best bowler, although there was some good competition. I think it actually came down to the last throw. I forgot, it might have been Braden Strong. It was one of the new guys, or GIF. It was close. And he needed to spare out to win it. He didn't quite get there. But anyway, so I like that early on. Virginia Tech was a little bit of a swap-in for a miscommunication in a game that was supposed to happen but didn't.
Okay.
But our friends up at Virginia Tech did a great job of getting that game on the books as we were both open in short notice. But yeah, what it really did, it allowed us to come together as a team on the road. It allowed us through the first really 4 games is to get a lot of guys in and out of the lineup to figure out some chemistry and rhythm. And, for the fans that were at the first game, you will see some different line combinations to this game because, for example, like Govea, Gifford, and Robinson didn't play together the first game, but they had 4 goals as a line over the weekend, right?
Yeah.
So it would kind of be coaching malpractice to pull that line apart, right? So it's enabled us to find some combinations going forward into this long, lengthy homestand, which is great.
Yeah, and speaking of getting some of those players, and some of the new guys have already traded out those yellow laces. How's that been?
I think, the yellow lace tradition is fantastic.
It's awesome. It's fun.
It's fun, and what's great is it's actually become pretty well known too now.
Yeah.
It used to be really an internal thing. After the first game, a high school buddy of mine who actually lives in California, Jack Choate, and he texted me. He's like, good to see those yellow laces off. Love that tradition. I'm like, this is a guy, it's a Friday night, right? He has 2 kids.
Yeah.
He doesn't, and yet he's still even paying attention to the yellow lace tradition.
Yeah.
What's funny is we're playing South Carolina this weekend, and we have the outdoor game with them coming up, and we're on a call. And one of their assistant coaches is a guy by the name of John Kochlenberg. Great guy, really good defender for us. Graduated 6 years ago now, maybe 7.
Okay.
He actually never got his yellow laces off as a defender. So kind of on the call, I said, hey, you guys need to go into the locker room. Is he wearing yellow laces for practice?
Him about it.
No, he wasn't on the call. It was one of their students said, we may need to put some yellow laces in his skates, particularly for this week. So it's becoming a pretty well-known tradition, which is great. And it's fun. It's you see some guy, and it's funny. Some of the guys, if they between periods, they're gone. As soon as, they vanish. You have the other guys, I think last year you had the goal celebration where the guy kind of picked up his skate and pretended to untie him. So it's fun. We've gotten a lot of them off so far this year. We have a lot to get off.
Yeah.
I'm confident they'll all get off throughout the course of the year, but it's really fun to see those come off.
Yeah, that was great. And then continuing that on the road series with the back-to-back rowing games, how were those?
Yeah, those are great because Rowan has really been a thorn in our side the last couple of years.
That's what I was thinking. I was interesting.
Yeah, they've beaten us 2 years in a row at the St. James Showcase. They split when they came down here last year in that tough 1-0 loss, and when we had a lot of guys in Europe and we'd beaten them pretty soundly that Friday night.
Yeah.
We went to the ACC playoffs. We really felt like that was our trophy to win, and we got a good lead on them. And it was the right call, but we thought we were going up 3-0. There was a video review that took the goal off the board. And to Rowan's credit, right, they're gritty. They don't give up. They ended up beating us in overtime, going on to win the title. Fast forward a week later, right, we play them in the first round of the ACHA postseason tournament. We really did not have a great first period. Addison Lawrence really kept us in that game until we found our game in the second and third and kind of pulled away. Coming into this year, it was a little bit like we were exercising a little bit of a demon there, right? To be able to go up there, get a sweep.
Yeah.
And Friday was tough. It was supposed to be a 7-hour bus ride, turned into a 10.
Oh.
And so, we were rolling in like 50 minutes before. Brooks Willoughby Ray, a freshman, he actually had an exam that morning, so he actually flew up to meet us. He had to have his Uber stop off and get our catered stuff at Panera and have it there for us. So we're running it.
First.
Yeah, so we're running in, and to be able to get out with that, I said to the guys before the game, 60 minutes from now, there's the opportunity for you to have excuses, which we don't want, or an opportunity to you to have a really good resiliency story in your first real hard road game of the year. Not that Virginia Tech wasn't. That was a 3-2 game. But in terms of the travel, Virginia Tech's a lot very different. Virginia Tech is a great program, but the travel is a lot easier.
Yeah.
To come out, get that sweep. So that means actually going back to last year, that's 3 in a row against Rowan. So it feels like, I feel like we could see them again in the postseason, but where it felt like they had our number and our confidence against them wasn't high, I feel like that begins to take that. I feel like that monkey is off our back right now.
Yeah, and I feel like that's interesting because last year when we talked, on the road, the games were not our best. At home was better for us. So how do you think the transition to now series at home will be?
Well, it's funny you bring that up. We spoke a lot about that.
Yeah.
In some ways, you don't want to put the sins of a past team on a new team when there's so many new players there, right? If it's a highly returning team, I think it's fair to talk about that stuff. Hey, on the road this. But with the leadership, I said silently, if you think, even if it was a home road, we don't typically do very well on that second night. We went up to Penn State last year, won the first, lost the second. Virginia Tech, we won at home, lost on the road. Liberty, we won at home, lost on the road. So we talked a lot about getting those 4 points and making sure to complete that sweep. That was a huge goal of ours this weekend to kind of check that off, right? That 4-point road weekend, and specifically really after you getting that second game.
Yeah, for sure. We'll be right back after the commercial break.
We build it, you demolish it. The legendary Homewrecker Burrito. Come build yours today with 20+ fresh ingredients.
First online order, 10% off. Promo code online.
We're we're back talking all things Ice Pack. It's been good to hear about that stretch. I'm excited to see what happens at home now. And now I want to talk about individual players and what we've seen so far. You know, Daniel Prosma, players like that. Brooks.
Willoughby Ray.
Okay, I wanted to ask because I didn't want to say it wrong. You know, they've got it combined as well as Zach Herman, 9 points together. How's that been?
And actually, I think it may be more than that. I'm not sure of it. Yeah. It's been fantastic. You know, it's a little bit different kind of a line because they're three lefties. But realistically, other than in D zone, the way they're playing off each other, it's almost positionless hockey.
Yeah.
And all three of them are electric, and all three of them are a little bit different types of players.
Yeah.
And I think when you know, Garrett Arini was this kind of speed burner, and a lot of it was like, well, how are you going to well, we've replaced his speed. I love G, but I think Prasma might even be a step faster. And so, yeah, you know, and then Willoughby Ray, you really, when you watch him play and the little things he does in all three zones, it's really a treat to watch. So, you know, if you're coming out to the games this weekend, you know, watch closely. Watch when he's off the puck. You know, parents, if you're bringing your kids, I would, again, have your kid watch Brooks when he's off the puck, when he's in the D zone, the little things he does that really turn into a difference maker, that really creates space for Prasma. And once Prasma gets space, he's gone, right? You know, in football with receivers, you know, there's a saying, if he's even, he's leaving. That's Prasma. And then you have Herman, who, one of the great things about Herman on that line, I know you want to speak about the new players and stuff, but that line, is Herman is as comfortable. If you need Herman to be a goal scorer, he'll be a goal scorer. If you need Herman to be a facilitator, he'll be a facilitator, right? So he is that great kind of bridge through both. Not that all three of them can't score goals. Certainly they can. They've been on the board. But he's really, you know, kind of the perfect complement to bring those skill sets together. I mean, you know, a little biased, but I think with those three, any game we play this year will probably have the three best forwards on the ice, just because of those three. Yeah. So they're pretty exciting to watch. And I think what's also nice is they're going to get so much attention. We have some other really good young new forwards too. And we haven't even spoken about our leading goal scorer from last year, Nick Shook, right? So, you know, there's just...
We talked about him a lot last year.
And then you have a guy returning like Joey Gouveia, who already is eclipsed his goal total from last year, right? Yeah. You have Jake Gifford, who had 3 goals on the weekend, right? So there's just... They're scoring all over the place, and we talked a lot about that as the coaches in building this team. It felt at times last year, if a team kind of took Shook out or the first line was off, where was the scoring going to come from? You know, this year, I want to say on Saturday night's game, all 4 lines scored.
And so it doesn't depend on just that one?
Not at all. Okay. And which makes it harder for teams to match up against us, right? Like, what line are you going to take out? Fine, if you want to send your best offensive guys against this line, that's great. You're going to have some mismatches on the other lines, I'll guarantee it. Yeah,
no, that's awesome. And then I wanted to talk about, you know, the upcoming game. We do have one this Friday in South Carolina. What's the preparation like for that?
I think, first of all, it's going to be a huge game. I'm really excited for it for a number of reasons. One, I think it's going to be our best test of the year so far.
Okay.
South Carolina is, you know, they're coming into ACHA Division II after being down in AU, and they're still dual registered. I think there's so many layers to this game. Number one, on a macro level, I think you have really what are the 2 biggest brands in Southern college hockey. South Carolina and NC State. If you look, you know, there's a lot of parallels with, you know, just solid off-ice stuff, solid off-ice organization, lots of success, right? You have that. You have us meeting in the outdoor game, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about those outdoor games. I saw this pop up. I was excited.
So you have, and so, you know, you have kind of this, you know, what I hope can really turn into a great rivalry between the 2 marquee program, you know, 2 historical marquee programs in the Carolinas, right? Sure. So, you know, hoping that can, you know, that can really come up and be a thing that happens every year. And then you take all that aside, you have 2 really good teams on the ice, right? I think they're 5-0. I could be wrong. I haven't seen they had 2 at Alabama this weekend. And then, so they're 5-0. Okay. We're coming in 4-0. So something has to give, right? So you have 2 real quality programs on the ice. I think you have 2 universities, if you look at where they've gone academically and their reach into other regions and where players are coming from on that roster. So I think there's a lot of excitement about this matchup.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be really great hockey.
And to have that home advantage, we've got great fans, and they're back this year. But not only that, we have a band. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So I think everyone, if you go back to, the Canes outdoor game and then you go to Frozen Finley, anyone that's been at hockey, college hockey games, say Minnesota or Cornell or Hockey East games, know that one of the defining characteristics that makes college hockey in those places compared to pro hockey is the band. Frankly, same thing in football too.
Yeah.
And so, North Carolina got a taste of a band at the outdoor game and then at Frozen Finley, and where everyone's like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And I think the band member, well, I know the band members they're like, this is awesome.
They loved it.
Yes.
You can tell. They look excited.
Yeah. So last year they came out to a few games. Sarah Siskey, William Dobson, kind of brought a group together, and it was kind of an ad hoc group to a few games. They were fantastic. But they kind of got a taste of it, and they've gone all in this year. They've created their own sub-band club, if you will, for the Frigid Sound,
That's
as opposed to
awesome.
the Power Sound of the South.
They
have taken to learning the cheers that bands do. A lot of places the bands lead the cheer, the Civ chants at goalies and the like. And you definitely saw it. You saw the High Point goalie, when they're doing "It's All Your Fault," 8-8-8, and he's in his crease, and it's like you can almost hear the internal monologue of "Don't look, don't look, don't look," and how we put him up in kind of the crow's nest right over that end, so they're kind of right down on that opposing team goalie. I think it adds to the home ice advantage, and they're fantastic. They've even learned, songs that are just for, that they might not be doing at football that are really about hockey. So they've added that in. And I think, for the fan experience too. I think
they feed off of it.
Oh my God, yes.
Absolutely.
And what I'm hoping is, if you were to go to a Minnesota game, like the band kind of leads the chants and the freshmen, and now that everyone else will kind of join in on that. So they're fantastic. It adds a lot to the game, and just adds a lot to the atmosphere at Invisalign. So there's, whether you're just okay with hockey and you like a band, that's fine. Like we have that too for you. But it's exciting. It was packed. Great atmosphere. And actually, last year when we had ECU, I'm almost positive we went beyond the fire marshal code. That wasn't, and
that was insane.
The crowd was great, but it actually became a fan experience that wasn't great. It was too.
There were so many people there. I've never seen that many people at a music.
So oddly enough, you would think it's counterproductive. We've actually capped our attendance at what technically the building can hold. Just because it gives a better fan experience, and we want fans to have a great experience. We want people to be able to see the game and feel like they have a little bit room to breathe, but still that it looks full and it's loud and it's a great environment. And I think we have that.
It's awesome. That ECU game, I was like, there is a lot of people here
right
now. I've never seen this many people here. It was something, but nonetheless, people showed up.
We have a great, and then the other thing too is we have an off-ice team that's really working on the game day experience as well. We want, my vision is, and our vision as an organization is that, if you're a high school football player, you have your Friday night lights, right? If you're, a hockey player in North Carolina, you don't really have that in the fall and into the winter. We want to be that experience. We want to be the place where, the dads can come, and if they want to get a few adult beverages from Tribeca, they can, the kids can run around, fist bump with the players. And obviously, our NC State students have been showing up.
Yeah, they have.
We've sold more student season tickets than we ever have in the past.
I believe it.
So that's exciting. And students, I cannot say this enough. What you bring to the atmosphere is huge because you're normally louder. You're normally, say, more creative when you chirps to the visiting team, but let's, we do have little kids there. But yeah, so the NC State students, you have been awesome, but really in that first game, I'm already seeing the attendance figures for this Friday. Keep it coming. Our guys just, they feed off you and your energy. And you see it across campus right now. Like you see what's happening with the soccer team in their home games.
I remember we talked about it last year. Like if you saw someone wearing Ice Pack stuff, you probably knew them. But nowadays people are wearing it. They're just fans.
Yeah,
it's a fan base.
Yeah, it's awesome. And that is one of my, my wife and I talk about this all the time. It used to be, I knew the 25 people that bought jerseys, right? now red and white can't, they almost can't stock them fast enough.
Yeah. They have a huge section
yeah,
there,
that's
too.
it.
It's impressive.
Yeah, it's as big as any other sports
Yeah,
team,
it
right?
is.
So get to the red and white shop. And then the other thing is I definitely, when I see someone with an NC State hockey hat or an ice pack hat, it's like, I love it when they actually don't know who I am.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. Like, hey, great shirt, great hat. And if I'm wearing, great sweatshirt too.
You're another fan to them.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
And what's also really kind of an interesting phenomenon is when the new players come in, right? NC State has great branding and their athletics has some great uniforms. I mean, Tuffy, all this, it's just fantastic.
Everything
and I
is
think
great.
when the guys come in, they're like, I wish I could have all that. But
Yeah.
once they get on campus, if you're wearing an NC State shirt on campus, it could be for any team, right?
Yeah.
You're wearing Tuffy, it could be for any team. But the guys realize, that shirt, that's for my team specifically.
Yeah.
And so, which is really awesome and a unique experience. And now we actually have other colleges calling well, what was the process that you did to do this?
That's awesome.
And,
Represent the program.
It was great. And, so shout out to Eric Todd and Zach Solway, but Eric Todd really, creating a lot of the brand stuff, former player and captain. But yeah, it's been great to see that take off. And now we're getting into kind of iterations of it too, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I wanted to kind of talk about almost branding of the team and things like that because there's that new YouTube documentary thing going around, Inside Edge. Can you tell the people a little bit about it?
Leading Edge, Kyle Lewis, who works on campus as a videographer, and Harrison Eaton. Really, Kyle Lewis is driving it. Harrison Eaton is our creative director of the program. And Harrison is doing work with baseball, football, so he's making these connections across campus, one of which is Kyle Lewis. Kyle is embedded with us. It means, you have to really be more conscious in some ways.
Yeah.
No, the first episode premiere, probably every other Thursday at noon, a new episode will drop. It's fantastic. It really takes you inside what this program is about. I think through it, you'll get to see the culture of the program. You'll get to see the character of the guys.
Yeah.
And you'll get to see their drive to win, their commitment, their passion.
Yeah.
Which is, a side that, and we haven't done this since the COVID year. And I thought it was really important that year because fans couldn't come and see us.
Yeah.
But this one, I think we'll be able to bring the fans into the story more because they are part of it. For example, we even had one fan change his Twitter handle this weekend to Dan Prasma fan account.
Oh
so
my God.
But I think you'll be able to see that and that story play. And I think there's also, Harrison and Kyle looked at it as there's a lot of storylines this year. There's all these new guys, right?
Yeah.
There's frankly, there's some pretty high expectations.
Yeah.
This is our last year of Division II before we move to ACHA Division I. So it's a great year to do it. Watch it. It's phenomenal. The long bus ride, I think, helped him cut a lot of film. And I'm just in awe of what, Kyle does and even his turnaround and stuff. I don't, you shoot hours and hours and hours of footage for, what are the best 15 to 17 minutes.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I don't know when this is going to air. It may air after it's already dropped.
Yeah.
But tomorrow, Thursday, will drop at noon.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, well, I'm excited for that, the season, everything that's to come. I look forward to talking to you again. After that, we'll probably have a couple more games under our belt, hopefully some wins, who knows? But I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you guys for tuning in to Over the Boards. We'll see you next time.
All right, go Pack.
We build it, you demolish it. The legendary home wrecker burrito. Come build yours today with 20 plus fresh ingredients.
First online order, 10% off. Promo code ONLINE.